So this is James here. James is a 3D mesh, but he's got on a pair of clothes, which is this texture map. See, James got his clothing from Meshroom. Meshroom tailor fit his clothing to fit him perfect, right? The problem with James is he's a very detailed kind of person, right? He's really detailed. He's got a lot of polygons. And his texture, his clothing, it was fit on him by Meshroom, and Meshroom is Meshroom has a very unique way of making clothing. They kind of take all the clothing in pieces and strips, and well, it's a custom fit. You can put it that way. It's a custom fit, and that's how it is. So this is James. Now we met James. Now let's meet Tommy. Tommy is a young fella who doesn't have many polygons. He's just got a few polygons. So Tommy wants to wear the clothes that James is wearing. Tommy shows up. He's like, "Hey man, I really like those clothes. Do you think I could wear them?" James is like, "Well, I don't know, man. This is a custom fit. I don't know how I would put these clothes on you." So Tommy said, "Well, maybe I should get measured. Maybe I should get a tailor to measure me." So he goes on to the edit room where the tailor is, and he says, "Hey, I want to get fitted for Tommy's suit. Can you help me out?" And so he's like, "Yeah, we can select all your polygons and we can go to UV and unwrap them so that we can lay them all out flat, so it's easier to take the clothing from James and know where to put them on you." "Oh, okay, so that's all you got to do?" "Well, not quite yet. There's one other thing you got to do. See, you got to be in Cycle's render engine to change clothes. See, by default you're in Eevee, but you got to go to Cycles, and that's the first step. Now you already got measured for your clothes, so the next step is to go into the shading room. In the shading room, you'll see your basic layout here, but what you need is an image. You need an image. This is what will become the clothes. Think of this as some kind of futuristic photocopy machine. So what we do is we take James's clothes, and that's his clothes, and we photocopy them to you so that you got them. But you have to go to here, to the baking tab, and the bake type that we're going to bake is going to be diffuse. And only the color information, that's all we need. So how do you get the clothes from James to Tommy? Well, you got to say selected to active. What that means is you're going to take them from James and you're going to put them on Tommy. So to tell this, that's what we're doing. You got to pick James, hold shift, and select Tommy. Now Tommy, you made a new image here for him. You can tell it the amount of resolution that you would like it to be. Like a high quality, think of a high quality suit. 4096 by 4096. You don't need an alpha channel. That's only for transparencies. So once you have that selected and you selected them in order, you can bake. And what you'll get over here is the clothing, basically. But you'll have to save it once it's baked. And that's how Tommy puts on James's clothes. It takes longer for better quality. Now, James is not understanding. He said, "Man, I think there's moths in the damn copier because most of the clothes is missing. There's like holes all in it, like moths ate it." Well, let me explain something to you, Tommy. See, James, his clothes was an exact fit for his high polygon self. He has a lot of polygons. Whereas you got little polygons, you got just a few. So in between the spaces that make up the difference between you and James there is probably about 0.05 meters. Now that's what the tailor needs to know so he can make that adjustment. So that's done in extrusion. So the difference between the two of you, where you are not quite filled out as much as him in places, that's the extrusion. So I always just put 0.1 for Meshroom stuff because Meshroom, that's pretty good number. It works pretty good. So let's try it again. Now that the tailor's got that extrusion distance, it ain't got to be exact, Tommy. It can be more. Just we want to make sure it's at least more than enough. So now you'll see when you get these clothes, they'll fit perfectly. No holes in them. Wow, baking takes a long time. Yes, it does. It don't take as long at 1080p or 1024 by 1024. Oh, wow, that looks good. Why don't you try it on, Tommy? James, why don't you step out of the room? Let Tommy try on these clothes. So you're going to connect color to base color. Oh, yeah, that looks good on you there, Tommy. That looks real good, in fact. Looks just as good as it did on James. And you're a lot less polygon, so you'll run a lot better wearing this. So what about them normal maps? Because, see, James got that high definition. You know, he's got all them damn polygons that make him look so good. You know, he's all them striations and them muscles of them polygons. How do I get that definition? Well, James, you're going to have to do another bake. Well, we'll have to get Tommy back in the room. Now that Tommy's back in here, what we need to do now for you, we need to get you selected. Now, sometimes it's hard to select one or the other because y'all both look the same now. So one thing you can do is you can tell James here in this orange box, say, hey man, I want you to put on a hat that's going to make you look different. So we're going to go to viewport display and I want you to be shown as bounds. Oh, so you just made him a box. Exactly. So you can select him much easier now. Now you'll select him and then you'll hold shift and select you again. And this time we're going to make another texture image. Except for this time, when we go OK, we get the resolution we want. We're going to change the color space to linear. Now we're going to go back to the baking tab, and instead of diffuse, we're going to bake normals. And then we're going to bake. And what you'll get over here are all the definition of the 3D geometry that James has, but you can put them on you now. So you get all the benefits of a high poly model on a low poly model without the performance cost. You just have to wait on the baking to get done. Well, I hate to break it to you there, Tommy, but he wasn't that defined after all. He doesn't have very much definition. You probably could just not even fool with that little bit. But if you want to, though, we can save it. We can save it. Well, what about the ambient occlusion and the roughness maps and all that? Well, you can do all that too. You just have to add another texture. You gotta add another texture, and you go OK, and then you change it to ambient occlusion, and that'd be how you bake the ambient occlusion. And if you want to bake a roughness, well, you add another texture image. Except for roughness, that's quite a little bit different. There's an extra step involved with that if you're baking from Meshroom. Don't be surprised if you don't see anything on the ambient occlusion, because there's not much 3D detail on that. It's almost flat. So if you get anything, you're lucky. Yeah, like I said, there's nothing there. There's nothing there to make an ambient occlusion. Now for roughness roughness, you got to go to James and look at his clothes. You got to pick him and go to his clothing, and you got to connect that color to roughness. That way, the tailor knows, hey, I want roughness. That's what I want from the clothing, so he knows what to get. So now pick James, pick you, select one of these here, change to roughness, and bake. And you will get a roughness map. Well, there's a lot of stuff you can bake. Yep, there is. There's a lot of stuff you can bake. Everything you could need, you could bake in there if you got the patience. Wow, that's a pretty roughness map. All right. Well, I think, James, we're done with you for the day, my friend. You can go home. We'll just delete you. And Tommy, we can go back out to the layout. Actually, let's save your materials, your clothing, your textures. So, we got the normals, we got the roughness, and we got the diffuse. So, we'll save all these. So, we'll go up here to image, save as. And let's go to the level that we're going to test you in. Let's go to this level. And let's go into the art folder, and let's make a folder called banks. It's like the ocean bank. It's like a beach. And this one will be diffuse, but you can name it whatever you want. Save image. Then go to your normals map. Image, save image. This one, though, make sure you change the color space to linear. We'll call this one normals. And then we'll save the roughness. Well, can't you hook all them things up in Blender? Can't they just connect there and go to Beam? No, it don't work like that. It'd be nice if you could, but you can't. So no, the only thing that this Blender is gonna send to Beam knows anything is gonna be this base color right here. The very first one you took a picture of, the one you got on right now, the one you tried, that's the one that Beam will say, okay, well come on in. We can set you up with that and make you a main.material file and get you on your way. But all the other stuff, well, you got to do that later in the world editor. So, let's get you straightened out, my friend, because you are all crooked and you are all over the place. So, let's go and say set origin, geometry to origin. That'll put you there in the center. And then let's rotate you around so that you are not upside down and sideways. Alright. And then one last thing you can always do, make sure you apply all transforms. And then you can check up here where these two balls are. You see this face orientation? Well, if it's blue, it's right. But if it was red, then you need to flip the normals around. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means you're inside out. You're wearing your clothes inside out, basically. If that was the case, which it's not, you'd simply go to edit mode and you'd say A to select all the faces that are blue or red, and you'd go to mesh, normals, flip. That easy. That's how you turn it inside out. Mesh, normals, flip. Well, why would someone ever be flipped inside out? Well, it's quite easy, actually. If you make a mesh like a cube, say you make a cube and you're scaling it and you accidentally scale the wrong way, where you go that way, once you apply all transforms. So that's how you get turned inside out. Yeah, that's how you get turned inside out, my friend. And there's another way, too, you can get turned inside out and not realize it. Say you're making something and you're like, oh, okay, well, I like this, I like that. I like this here, I'm going to join these together. But you know what? I need another one, but I need it to be mirrored. So I need to make a mirror. I need to tell it to mirror that way. Yeah, that looks good. Now I can take this thing and move it over here and make something symmetrical like that, and then join both of these together, and yeah, I made a new object. Yeah, but look what happened. When you mirror something, it turns it inside out. So you got to go to edit mode, then you got to select the faces. The ones that are red, go to mesh, normals, flip. So what happens if it's inside out anyway? Well, it's not a good thing, my friend. If it's inside out, it's not good for the car. See what'll happen if it's inside out, it'll eat the car, basically. If it's a 3D object that's got all four sides, meaning it's not a mesh plane. Mesh planes are different. If it's a 3D object it's enclosed, it'll eat the car. If it's inside out, you'll also get stuck easily on things that are inside out. Mesh planes, if they're inside out and you're on the wrong side, you'll just simply fall through it, even if collisions are built. But if it's the other way, you won't. So that's pretty much it, my friend. Now let's get you into Beam. You've asked too many questions. Too many questions. Good questions, man, but come on, you're asking too many. Now, what about your scale? Now, you know what size you are. You know how big you're going to be when you get in the game. Well, you can measure here with the measure tool at 6 meters. Well, you can scale it in the game, or you can scale in here. It's up to you. We're just going to send you over like that. So we're going to export you as a DAE, and we're going to put you in that folder that we created. Well, why do I got to go in my own folder? Why can't I go in a folder with other people? Well, because they already got their main.material files in there, and Beam ain't going to add you to theirs. Now, it'd be nice if it would, but it don't. You just be in there like the new kid ain't got nothing on. They wouldn't know what you'd have no material on you is what you would have on you. So you got to go in your own folder, so you're treated like a new person that ain't ever been there, and they'll make you that main.material. Just like that. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Now, there's times I mess up, and probably about 3-4 times a day, and I still end up with no material. But you know, for the most part, I'm batting about 80%. I send folks to the right place, and they get the right clothes. So let's go to the material editor and let's pull out our new model. So it'll be in that folder, in the art folder there, banks, and there's our DAE. We just drag it onto the desktop like that, and then we finish the textures, because like I said, BeamNG is only concerned with one texture. It's not concerned with the rest. So open up the material editor with you selected here, and real quickly flip back to Blender, just for reference. Base color, metallic, specular, all that stuff, well, it's all here too. It's all in there also. There's even more stuff if you switch to PBR, but we're just sticking to 1.0 for this. So we're going to put your normals in the normal map, and then we're going to put the roughness in the specular map. But to see what the specular's doing, you got to be vertex lit. No, you don't. I lied. You got to be pixel specular. And then you can adjust the roughness to see the difference. But there wasn't a lot of normals, so you're not going to really get to see much. Had you had a lot of normal mapping, maybe you had something like, well, let's see, I can find you one to throw on for a second. Surely we can find you some normals. I'd even find you some that's from sand. Rocks, sand. Yep, there's some sand normals right there. Alright, we still don't really see them. That's the wrong one. Now what I'll do sometimes is I'll stick an additional normal map into the detail normal map, so that it is makes double the amount of normals. We'll stick a different one in there. Now the good thing about the second one is you can scale it here. You can have it scale, and this you can adjust the intensity, but you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't even use that, but that's just to make an example. How you can see how the roughness, sometimes you can see better depending on time of the day. You can get a better idea of what the normal maps are doing based on the light. But yeah, the normals that came with this didn't have a whole lot of, there wasn't a whole lot of detail. That's cranking it up a lot. So yeah, it wasn't much. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this little tutorial. I thought I would try to make it so that it had some little comedy, some comedy aspect to it. Because I know this stuff's boring as hell to learn. I wanted to see if what this would look like in the water as a bank. I got it from Google Earth. So I was just kind of curious how would it fit in here if I threw it in there. I might have to do more work to it, but get rid of the water that's in it. Or maybe if nothing else, use it for, a kind of decal to help make some kind of division between the bank and the other stuff. I don't know, I'm still messing with it. I'm back and forth in Meshroom and back and forth in Google Earth, trying to just get some ideas. But that's it for this. Hope y'all got something out of it. Have a good day.